Hello, everyone, and welcome to New York Empoleon's Week 7 Team Builder of the PCL here in this... Oh, man, we're going to start that over. Whew. Hello, everyone, and welcome to New York Empoleon's Week 7 Team Builder of the PCL. We are taking on the Hartford Yard Gogoats this week, coached by Daily26, and I absolutely encourage you guys to go check out their channel if you have not seen it before, or if you have, go check it out. Should be a lot of fun. Again, I actually don't know which of my opponents are uploading in this league and which ones aren't, but I always encourage you guys to check out their channels, as I will always say every week. Now, we took our first loss of the season last week. Unfortunately, there was a lot going on in my life. I briefly talked about it in the PBAL video, but more stuff obviously has happened since then. So, the day that I was battling Danza, my computer's HDMI port broke, and I ended up just deciding to buy a whole new computer. But everything else about that computer still worked, and I bought a dock that it allows me to make a USB port into an HDMI port, basically. So I'm actually able to use the HDMI port of the old computer anyway now. So now I just have an extra computer. So now I have 3 screens going on. They're all over. And so I might be looking this direction. I might be looking this direction, trying to get my calcs and stuff. And I've got so many like screens and monitors and stuff. The game's in the middle, so I will hopefully be focused mostly on the game. But the recording is on a brand new computer. So if things are weird, I'm hoping that that's just because it's on a new computer, and we'll figure it out together. And hopefully I can fix whatever the problems are. But just a heads up on that. If things aren't perfect, it's because I'm using the same software and actually re-downloaded everything, but it's a new computer, so there's always going to be some slight differences. Anyway, that doesn't affect you guys. That doesn't affect the content significantly. I will just get it started and stop wasting time and just like you guys know, there's a lot going on in my life, and apparently my camera's really blue right now, probably because it's daytime and there's natural lighting that is very blue. The sky is very blue right now. It's very pretty. Anyway, my opponent's team is GMax, Gengar, Tentacruel, Leafeon, Unfezant, Hitmonlee, Rotom Heat, Passimian, Skarmory, Primarina, Chansey, and Turtonator. And this team, I looked at it first and was just a little confused about, like, I was like, what am I looking at? Why is this hard for me to process? And I thought about it and I was like, oh, this team is very, like, there's a lot of doubles. I was just not expecting to see it. There's 2 water types, Tentacruel and Primarina. There's 2 flying types in Unfezant and Skarmory. There's 2 fighting types in Hitmonlee and Passimian. There's 2 fire types in Rotom Heat and Turtonator. There's 2 normal types in Chansey and Unfezant. There's 2, like, it just kept going. And there's 2 poison types, right? Tentacruel and Gengar. So, like, it just kept going, doubles and doubles and doubles. I was like, why is this so hard for me to process? Just because I was not expecting to see that team at all. But I'm going to have to deal with it. You know, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a gimme fight by any stretch of the imagination. These are really scary Pokemon in their own right, and just because there's 2 like duplicates, unfortunately, a lot of those duplicates actually do really well against my roster. So we are actually going to be rocking out with a sub leftovers Urshifu to start things off here, which should be a lot of fun to run with. I have not run this set. I thought about putting Bulk Up. I just didn't know what to get rid of because this is what the coverage I needed in order to hit his whole team. I really want a Sucker Punch, but couldn't find a place for it. So Poison Jab is for Primarina. After a substitute with 1 round of leftovers, I am outside of Life Orb Hyper Voice range as long as it's not in Torrent. Poison Jab should never put it in Torrent range unless I crit, which would be sort of unfortunate actually. So sub, as he switches into Primarina, Poison Jab, it's out of Torrent range, but it's over 50%. And then I do it again, even after like poison damage. It's just a 2-hit KO no matter what, unless he's Kibia Berry. But poison would actually still make that potentially a 2-hit KO. And Hyper Voice is not Moonblast. I live it, even though it goes through the sub. It's Water type at worst if he's Liquid Voice. Normal type if he's not. If he's not Liquid Voice, he won't be running Hyper Voice. And actually, if he's Liquid Voice and Hyper Voice, then he's not Torrent. So anyway, all that to say, this is a way to deal with Primarina. I outspeed a non-Scarf Primarina. If it is Scarf Primarina, I'm already subbed up. I see that it's Scarfed. I get a Poison Jab off, and I can switch out into a response to the Primarina, which is really nice. And I do have responses if it's Scarfed into like Moonblast to go into against it, which is really nice. So this set just does a lot of work. Drain Punch against the Chansey gives me back to full. No matter where I am, gets me back to full. So it seemed worth it to run the Drain Punch over the Close Combat, because I'm never clicking the Close Combat anyway against his roster. Wicked Blow is better against anything that Close Combat would be good against, except for the 2 fighting types. And neither of them are taking 2 Wicked Blows happily. They're both very offensive fighting types. And Wicked Blow into Drain Punch can do a lot of damage to them anyway. And I'm not really even I really would prefer not to stay in if I'm not already subbed up against the fighting types. And if I am subbed up, I'd rather Drain Punch to get that HP back and just be able to sub more and more. So that's the Urshifu set this week. We're going to be rocking out with it. Next up is my Salazzle. It's going to be toxic. It's got that corrosion ability to just go toxic on all your stuff. You've got this Skarmory, which can switch into this sort of, not really, doesn't really want to, but it can. You've got the Tentacruel, which can switch in. You've got the Gengar, which can switch in. You know, you've got options, Turtonator, whatever. So I'm just going to throw out Toxics and hopefully get some damage around. And then later in the game, after I've gotten a Toxic or two off, we just go for a Nasty Plot and start spamming damage. Stab's really good against this roster. Not perfect, but this is never meant to sweep, at least not with everything being full. Tentacruel, 100% switches in on this super easily. Throw out a Toxic the turn that I come in. He brings a Tentacruel in. That's Toxic, wear it down, and just go from there. Be able to switch out. I have switched into the Tentacruel, and we'll be okay with that. So that's the set that I'm running this week. Again, it's really just Toxic on the switch-ins early, and then later on in the game, Nasty Plot, Flamethrower, Sludge Wave. Give me that little bit of coverage. Give me that little bit of extra push to try to get through that end game. Next up is the Rotom Wash. This is a really solid switch into the Tentacruel, except that I'm running Choice Specs offensive Rotom Wash because he has no immunity to Volt Switch on his entire roster. And not just does he have no immunity, his resistances to Volt Switch are Leafeon, which is a pretty decent switch into Rotom, but doesn't want to take a Will-O-Wisp ever, and Turtonator. And Turtonator does not switch in really well to a Rotom Wash spamming moves. So, Chansey, I expect to be the switch in. Volt Switch is just so free, and it does a little bit more to Chansey. Why not? The thing is, if I can Volt Switch on the switch to Chansey, I go into my Urshifu, and I get a free substitute. If he tries to throw off like a, I don't know, Thunder Wave to try to catch my Urshifu, it doesn't even matter. So, because Volt Switch on the turn that he switches into Chansey, Urshifu's in for free. So, spamming Volt Switch and then eventually Thunderbolt just felt so free with this Rotom. And then if I get into a situation where like I need to kill the Gengar like right now and Rotom is healthy enough to take one hit, Shadow Ball's there for that, but really unlikely to be clicked for the most part. I just didn't have another move that I like needed or wanted more than Shadow Ball, and it's pretty decent coverage for his roster outside of the Chansey, which is unfortunately a very good switch into the Rotom, so probably won't be clicking Shadow Ball much. But Volt Switch, probably early game, just Volt Switch, Volt Switch, Volt Switch, Volt Switch, and then eventually maybe do something else. Next up, we have the Scizor. Scizor's going to be rocking out with the Roost, Bullet Punch, Superpower, and the Swords Dance. Again, because his team is very duplicated in types, I didn't need that much coverage on the Scizor in order to be successful. And so I actually am going to be rocking out this week with a just like offensive, adamant, hit things hard, Scizor, and there's really nothing else to it. Give it a Life Orb, just go, just Swords Dance and then Bullet Punch everything. If I can do that, if I can get it in safely against something like the Chansey, you know, then I'm in really good shape. Or let's say the Unfezant or the Leafeon and I'm really healthy and I know I can take a hit. I just Swords Dance and then just start Bullet Punching. And if they knock off, they knock off, but just spam Bullet Punch and see where it gets me. Again, I don't think this thing's going to sweep. I think it's just going to break, and that's pretty good for it. That's all I needed to do. Or it's going to come in and clean. I just don't think it's going to be like able to do this from turn one. My turn one plays, as I sort of have talked about, is Rotom Wash, just clicking Volt Switch early game, Toxicking things with Salazzle early game, and then Scizor and Urshifu are later game to try to help clean things up. And in the mid game, we've got my Araquanid rocking out with the Sticky Web, Liquidation, Leech Life, and Poison Jab. It's going to be holding a Muscle Band, just a little bit extra damage. Muscle Band does actually OHKO a Gengar with Liquidation, GMaxed, which is crazy if he's just like offensive Gengar, which he might be. He might be a little bit bulkier though. So really nice to have that option to just be able to Liquidation and take out a GMax Gengar. The Muscle Band just gave me that little bit of extra oomph to do that. I tried being like, I was like Expert Belt, but too many things don't take super effective damage, and I was just like, you know what, just get the 10% boost on everything all the time, and that's going to work for me really well. Sticky Web, it's good this week, but I would actually argue it's not great. Hitmonlee can always come in on a Sticky Web, pop its White Herb, and get super fast, and don't have to worry about the speed drop. Tentacruel's got Clear Body. It doesn't worry about the speed drop. And Pheasant and Skarmory and Rotom Heat are all off the ground, and then Primarina, Chansey, and Turtonator are already slow. So it's not actually great, except against the Gengar, which could be huge, honestly, to slow down that Gengar, but I don't outspeed it anyway, so Sticky Web probably isn't my click most of the time, but it's a good utility move, pending the situation. Just gives me access to that extra layer of security if I need it, just to, again, to get through that end game, which I think is where this game will really get interesting. Beginning, it's going to be a lot of like, get ourself into a better position, and then the end game is where things get really interesting, because both of us have really powerful teams to come at this with. And of course, my final mon this week is going to be the debut of Swords Dance GMax Hatterene with Psycho Cut He has no dark type, so there's no reason for me not to run it. In fact, he has no resistance to psychic except for the Skarmory, so that's why I'm running Mystical Fire. Look, this thing is brave natured. It underspeeds his entire roster. I've got that attack boosting nature. Get that Twisted Spoon on that Psycho Cut. It hits the Chansey, breaks that thing just in half. Tentacruel, super specially defensive, break that thing in half. Like, we've got way more options with Psycho Cut than we would with a special move. So I am going to be putting up a Trick Room. I'm going to be Swords Dancing if I get the opportunity to, and then I'm just going to be making myself huge and going for Psycho Cuts. And honestly, if I don't get the chance to do both of those things, even without the Swords Dance, Psycho Cut's doing so much damage, especially after Psychic Terrain's up, and since he has no Dark type, one click of it, it's guaranteed to get up. And then Mystical Fire, just to hit that Skarmory, is really the only reason that I'm running Mystical Fire. And after a Psycho Cut, Mystical Fire kills the Skarmory. So I didn't need any other coverage. So I was like, you know what? Just give it Swords and see what I can do with it. It honestly looks so good this week. I have no idea if this is going to work. It's going to be super fun, though. And I am honestly hyped for whatever this thing's going to do. I don't know whether it's going to be early game. I don't know whether it's going to be mid game. I don't know whether it's going to be late game. But if I get the chance to use it, it's absolutely going to do work. And it's like Rotom heats at -2 or something. You know, after going for an overheat and killing the Scizor or whatever, then we come in, we go for a Swords Dance, and then whatever he goes into, like, doesn't kill me. I just either Trick Room or I get Gigantamax, and we just go from... And he sees that Swords Dance, he's going to flip. You know, if he goes into, like, Tentacruel, and he's like, I'm just going to kill this thing, and I'm like, Swords Dance, and he's like, and then I just Trick Room, because I can take one hit from a non-super offensive Tentacruel. Oh, man, it's going to be great. Or the Chansey. He goes to Chansey. Chansey would be, like, ideal, because that thing can't kill me with anything. I mean, Seismic Toss definitely doesn't kill me, and, like, it can't Thunder Wave me or anything. So I just go Swords Dance on the Chansey, Trick Room the next turn, and then Psycho Cut, and just annihilate his team. And it's just going to be so much fun. I'm so excited for this thing. So I will see you guys all back here tomorrow with that battle. Hopefully it goes as I'm expecting it to, because honestly, it could go any number of different ways. But I will see you guys all back here tomorrow with that battle, and we are going to try to take ourselves into the next echelon of the PCL. If we can get a couple more wins, we can lock up a top 2 seed right now. Week 9, keep my eye on that. We are playing the other team that is tied with me in record, and probably the winner of that game has a guaranteed bye into the playoffs, and the loser of that game might still get a bye, but we'll have to see as the time goes along. So if I can get a couple wins under my belt, make sure that I'm in good position, then we're going to be in a lot better shape. So I'm not, even though I'm doing well this season, even though I've pretty much got playoffs like in my back pocket at this point, I definitely can't let off the gas and just start losing games, because I want that bye. I would love to take a week off. Honestly, it's going to be amazing. So I will see you guys all back here tomorrow with that battle. Take care, everybody.